Peace, everybody. Larry out of Brooklyn, New York City. So, they want to defund police departments across America. Huh. I don't know if people are thinking this through. Do you know what that means to defund police departments? And when you hear where they want to redirect those funds, you do realize they took away art class, music class in schools, home economics class in school. I think a lot of schools took away theater, all these little extracurricular classes and activities kids could have been doing, they got rid of them. And now they're saying that they want to defund police. Let me explain to you, people that might not be living in large metropolitan cities, what happens when you defund police. What happens is the same thing that happened a few months ago when you had the immediate release of certain criminals for some crimes, and you had one guy that robbed like three or four different banks on the same day. And criminals are very smart people, you know what I mean? So they're gonna know how to work the system. So once they heard that they're not prosecuting and they're releasing people, they just went out and they just committed crimes. It was almost as if they had a get out of jail free card. So now when you say you're defunding police, so now you have 5 to 10 minute call times and response times when a person dials 911. Now, if you have an emergency, you dial 911. You have to expect not only a delay, you have to expect the possibility that no one's going to come to your aid or assistance, right? Okay, so you dial 911. They defund the police. So what's going to happen is you're not going to get any assistance, whether that's a burglary, whether that's an assault, whether that's an attempted robbery, whatever the case may be. You're going to basically be on your own. Mind you, you're going to be on your own with no personal protection or any ability for you to protect yourself self-defense wise, right? Because a majority of states are, you can't own a firearm at home, concealed or non-concealed. So now the advantage is there for the criminals. Not only do they have the weapons, they have time, because law enforcement isn't going to come when you dial 911. So what's going to happen? Criminals are going to strategize. It's going to be similar to the looting that went on with the protests. But now it's just going to be more systematic. You don't necessarily have to wait for riots and protests to loot and take stuff. Now you can easily have a coordinated effort. You can decide and plan on what store. And here's what's going to happen. 80s style or early 90s style. There used to be something called bum rushing. You used to bum rush to get into parties, to get into clubs. You would bum rush the door. But there was a time where back in the days, people used to just group up and rush department stores. You would just rush a Bloomingdale's through the subway, you know. They would just rush through these stores, And a lot of these high end, mid to high end retailers, security and alarms and chains and all these things to restrict the theft of product isn't aesthetically appealing. So that's why they don't have any gates outside to protect the windows. There's no alarms, there's no chains on the merchandise, regardless of how expensive it is. So as easy as it was for looters to go shopping last week, the past 2 weeks, it's just the beginning. So what I anticipate happening is any city, for example, if de Blasio goes ahead with the defunding of police, you can almost guarantee high-end retailers, whether it's Gucci, Louis, Prada, you know, there's not only is going to be design differences to the exterior of these stores, there's going to be design changes to the interior of the stores. You can expect to see more locks. Expect to see more change going through the sleeves of jackets, especially if they're expensive. Expect to see handbags tied down. Expect to see new display cases. I won't say they're gonna make the display cases out of bulletproof glass, but it's not gonna be easy as snatch, grab, and run, you know. And I'll tell you, depending on how the economy bounce back for some of these retailers, some of them might not stay. If de Blasio, I can only speak for New York City as a New Yorker, but if de Blasio goes through with it, defunding the police department, stores are going to shut voluntarily and leave the New York City area. One. I also believe police officers will feel so resentful and insulted because you you're punishing the whole force for the acts of a few, you know. And then I can say that because I have very, very close friends and family members that are on the New York City Police Department, you know. So I know that you have good friends of the cops. I have friends that have been police that went straight to the force after school. Friends that I know personally that at, are retiring now, you know. And I went to seventh and eighth grade with these guys, you know. So I know not all cops are bad. So when you have you know, a broad systematic change like that, it's gonna ruffle some feathers. So this is the way you saw that whole tactical team in Buffalo resigning because of the those one or two officers pushed that 70-something-year-old gentleman who hit his head on the concrete. That was an unfortunate incident right there. But I really feel that you're going to have cops that might stage some sort of a walkout to protest de Blasio even considering defunding the NYPD. I mean, I feel like I understand why people would say they have a problem with the NYPD and there needs to be systematic changes in the NYPD. I said the other day, the systematic changes can come without defunding. You know, it's not just a matter of training. I think you have to bring back the beat cops that are from the community to police the community. I think the reason you have cops that are coming in from deep in Long Island and Suffolk County and Staten Island and Jersey is because you have officers that don't necessarily want to patrol where they live because you don't really want to run into someone that you locked up in Costco's or BJ's, you know. So I think there's a lot of that going on. But I think when you have people from the community, policing the community, it creates that familiarity, you know, a la the beat cop who knows the community, who knows what's going on. First name basis with the business owners, with the tenants, old and new tenants in the neighborhood. But, you know, I think you have to have some sort of the accountability has to be provided by the good cops. You know, you also have to have a mechanism for the community to report these police officers, an app or a form at nyc.gov, you know, ny/NYPD, a downloadable form that a person can fill out and they can either mail to the precinct anonymously or they can deliver it to the precinct or they can submit it, you know, and have a copy. And the it should be something where it doesn't necessarily go to like the quote unquote internal affairs department of the NYPD, but maybe the public advocate's office, an outside entity that would receive these complaints. And if you have a certain officer or a certain precinct that gets a complaint, if you do this quarterly, they have numerous complaints, then you would open up investigations. Hey, this cop is involved in, you know, in the first quarter, three separate incidents. We're going to have to investigate. You know, you pull that person in, that officer in, and then you pull those people from the community in so that they can discuss the issues that they had with that particular officer. You can do it all on the same day. You tell all the people from the community to come in on Monday, you know what I'm saying, June 8th, You have one coming at 9, another one coming at 10, another one coming at 11. And yeah, that officer will have to spend that day having to answer to all of those complaints. Now you move past those complaints, if they're misunderstandings, fine. If they're not, if people deem it was truly the officer's fault and was out of line, then you could talk about suspensions. Initially suspensions with pay, second infraction in the next quarter. If they have other situations in that quarter, you would look at it again. If it's along the same trend line with, different people, then you're talking about suspensions without pay. And this is what you would continue to do. You would have to also create a mechanism where it's that the community can't collude in order to get a particular cop out. You can't just have people saying, all right, 15 of us, we don't like this particular cop. We're going to systematically, file erroneous reports against him, you know, just so as he can hit that, sixth infraction, and then he ends up being terminated from the force. There has to be a way to do that, hold them accountable. And then, with suspensions with pay, suspensions without pay, and then you can go to, terminations. You know, um, you have to fund extracurricular activities for the students on a school level. It can't just be academics and the teams, basketball and football. They have to open it up. If these programs exist on the high school level and the middle school level, I digress. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Bravo for bringing them back. But music class, theater, drama club, you know, home ec, they need to bring these these extracurricular activities back into the school for the children. You know, when you talk about safe zones, you should let the school be the safe zones. Create these clubs and groups, bring them back so that that kid can stay in school maybe until that parent gets in, because a lot of kids probably don't have anywhere to go from the time that bell rings and it's time to go home, and then from between that time and the time the parent gets in. So give them some place, or rather give them something to do in school instead of having to leave school and going someplace else. I find we we say we want to give the money to local agencies and organizations, and I just feel like it's obvious based on the numbers and the way things are in the community, these local agencies and organizations might not all be equipped to be able to make a dent in what's happening negatively in the community. It's just how it is, you know. Um, yeah, but one thing I do know is we're not eradicating racism, because racism is built on fear and ignorance. So what do you say? And millions of men of color, millions of black men will agree with me when I say it's not just white people who are afraid of black men. How many black men out there walk down the street, and we might hate to admit it, but a middle aged or an older black woman clutches her purse when she sees us? Now, it happens. It hurts when it happens, you know, because you see someone that could be your mom, it could be your grandmother, and she sees you, and then you consider yourself to be, you're a professionally dressed person. You're walking down the street in business attire, professionally, and purse clutch. I understand the purse clutch is a natural reaction, but this is a woman that can be my mom or grandmother seeing me clutches her purse. So imagine how someone else from another culture must feel. If she's scared, imagine how they feel. So I think that's what we have to do. Society has to find a way to reprogram people or deprogram them, whether it's through the news, TV shows, movies, the music on the radio. We have to start to deprogram and reprogram people into how they view us. Yes, how we view each other, how we treat each other is a whole different story in a video, but we have to change the images that are portrayed of us so that there is less of this fear, less of the fear of us, you know. But anyway, peace and love to everybody. We're gonna pick this up on the next video, but stay tuned. Love.